This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
And now back with us on the French Lick Resort guest line is Michael Vrska. Let me remind you about Michael's background. He graduated from Purdue University with his Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering. While he was in school, he worked for U.S. Steel from 1993 to 1999. And in June of 99, he went to work for Wilson as a product engineer and later as a principal design engineer. 2002, he joined Adams Golf as a design engineer and later became the director of product development for them. He rejoined Wilson in October of 2011 as their global director of innovation and later spent time as their global director of golf R&D. He's 19 years of a veteran club research, design, and development. We are honored he is back with us tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Michael, Chris, and Bob, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Michael.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's been a little while, so great to be back on. It was great to listen to Richard Zoka a little bit, and thanks again. This should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, Michael, before we get into all the golf stuff, I got to start by talking a little baseball with you. I know you're a big Cubs fan, so how you feeling about the start they've gotten off to?
Well, they started slow, but things are picking up, and it's Yu Darvish is back off the DL. He's going to start tonight, and he's an integral part. We obviously need pitching, losing Arrieta, him being on the Phillies now, and I think he's a great pickup, and just need to clean some things up. We strike out a little bit more than I think, and although we make some great defensive plays, there's some easy ones. So, I'm a big fundamentals guy, whether it's baseball or golf or work or what have you. So, again, I'm a big believer. I like where they're at. I know they're not in first now, but I still like their talent level, and I got to be there on Friday. Took my parents to the game. They were in town for my daughter's high school graduation, and I got to go to the game on Friday and froze our tails off, but thoroughly enjoyed the beatdown of the White Sox.
So you got Rizzo and Hayward off to slow starts. Jose Quintana, I'm sure not off to the start that you were hoping for from him. Do you think those guys are going to be able to turn things around, or are you expecting some trades to happen before the All-Star break?
Well, I mean, they're talking about Machado. Obviously picking up somebody like Manny would, change a lot of things. And if any of those rumors are true, when you have a chance to get, arguably a top 5 player, I think you have to do those. And but I really do like where they're at. They've got a great nucleus. Chris Bryant's going well. Javi Baez, when he makes contact, does well. There's still never a pitch he doesn't like and he doesn't swing at. But there's a lot of good things going on. And if trades happen, I just hope they not to use another baseball cliche, but hope they swing for the fences and go after some big talent. Because really, except for maybe some bullpen help, I really do like where they're at.
All right, Michael, let's talk some golf. And there have been some exciting technology advances with equipment over the last year or so since you and I spoke. You got Callaway out with their jailbreak technology, with their Epic driver. Now the Rogue driver, TaylorMade has got the twist face going on with their drivers. What do you think about what you're seeing from the major manufacturers, and where do you think the driver technology has the opportunity to go from here?
Well, I think there's a couple companies who are really doing well. I mean, looking at the product lines right now, I'm really impressed with what Callaway's been doing. Really top to bottom in all their products. Certainly, jailbreak technology really was game changing, and how they altered the flex of the crown. I really like what Cobra's doing. They're a much smaller R&D team, but I've really been impressed with them. TaylorMade obviously has rebounded well and are doing some nice things with twist face. They've had a tremendous success in the PGA Tour this year. TaylorMade has. So, those three especially, I think, continue to innovate, continue to do well. A company like PXG has really changed the industry. I mean, for the price they're selling for, they seem to be doing very well. They've really changed, the outlook for consumers on what the value of a golf club is. And when you do bring new technologies, things that are really game-changing, things that are truly different, golfers have shown they're willing to pay for that. So, those are 4 companies, not that others aren't doing well, but I think have really kind of shined, in my opinion, because of innovation, because their dedication to doing things different, doing things new. and trying things that may or may not be intuitive, but then explaining them well so consumers can understand them when they go into a PGA Tour Superstore, which I know is a sponsor of yours, a bunch of good friends who work there, so I'll give them a plug. When you go into a place like that or, go talk to your local pro, they can explain it in a sentence or two and I understand how that can help my game. So there are some really good things in innovation. I don't see it slowing down. The golf industry is highly competitive, and if you're a company that does slow down, you're a company that's going to lose share in a hurry.
So, Michael, quickly, I just want to build off of what you just said with respect to PXG. You said that they're changing the industry. Is it just changing the industry because of the price point and finding that, golfers, some, avid golfers are willing to pay the higher price for their equipment, or are they changing it in some other way?
I think it's threefold. One, the price, and that's going to open some doors for other companies to step in with products that maybe there was a prototype before, but they were just afraid to sell it because they didn't think people would spend that much money. So there could be, I think there could be some new technology coming from other companies going, wow, now maybe we can afford this. Two is just what they're doing from selling. They're not selling in any stores. You've got to go get fit 100%. So if you're going to get a PXG golf club, without question that you are going to come out of there being fit with the right shafts, the right loft, the right weight, the right grip for you, and everything goes with it. I know a few of the fitters that they've got positioned around the U.S. I know one of the guys in Europe who does it, all very knowledgeable. All the ones that I'm aware of who have years of golf experience. Most of them are good players, if not former club pros. So that's the other thing. And then three, they're launching product when it's ready. They don't have to sell on a yearly selling cycle. So, they may go 3 years between products, or they may launch a new product in 6 months. Because of the way they're selling, that gives their R&D team and their production, ability to do some things a little bit different because I'm sure they have internal timelines, but at least it looks like they're launching when ready, and which is a great way. And I really think that will benefit consumers, and we'll see if that starts trickling into the major OEMs who sell in stores and not. They certainly fit, but in a different manner. So, again, technology, the innovation they're bringing, the way they're selling, how they're doing that, and then their selling cycle, and I think they're all potentially game-changing.
Bob, questions for Michael?
And Michael, I know you're a very proud Purdue Boilermaker engineer, and you went to work into the steel industry right out of college, and I was wondering, it might seem like a stupid question, but could you have done what you do now without that background in that industry, Michael?
That's a tough question. Obviously, I lived that life, but I will say it gave me a great foundation. And the reason it was a great foundation, I learned all about metals and how it was made and really understanding the difference between a forging and a cast product and understanding about, all the nerds will love this, martensitic steel and understanding what grain structure means. That all engineers get in a course, and, you might sit through a couple of weeks of it in school, but it's different when you live it for 6 years. When you talk to people who've worked in steel for 30 or 40 years, and you go design irons and putters, and metal woods, obviously titanium is a little different, but it still gives you a great background. So I am very proud and happy with how I started and the good base that it gave me. So there's certainly guys who are great club designers and great engineers in the industry who don't have that, but for me, I love that as a launching pad.
And I know, Michael, you did a lot of work. I was reading when you work with Adams on hybrid irons. A lot of us up here are used to hybrid vehicles up here in the Northeast. But tell our listeners, some of them that aren't familiar, what are hybrid irons and hybrid clubs to begin with?
Yeah, so that was really revolutionary back at the time, and still bodes well for the industry. So my first project at Adams was called the Adams Idea Set. That was the first fully integrated set where there was irons matched with a hybrid. So you'd get two hybrids, with it basically equivalent to a 3 and a 4, and then maybe a 5 iron through your pitching wedge. Back then, sets were 3 through pitching wedge have kind of evolved from 4 to gap wedge in most. And the reason why that was game-changing is the golf ball was changing at that time. That was really when golf balls were going to solid core. That's also the time that launch monitors became prevalent. So what golfers found very quickly is as the ball changed, if you were a very high swing speed player, you couldn't get your 3-iron off the ground. And most likely the longest iron in your bag was a 5 or a 6-iron. And people didn't know that. But they started to find that out as they started to get fit. They started to see on launch monitors. And one of the reasons that the golf ball really, the spin was reduced on a golf ball tremendously when we went from a wound ball to a solid core ball. So the hybrids brought some spin in a good way back into long iron replacements. The other great thing about them is they were much more forgiving at a higher MOI, have a lower center of gravity, which for really every golfer on earth, including tour players, up to the highest handicap is going to be a benefit. So it was really a great time in the industry where you kind of had these things coming together where golfers understood a little bit more how far they hit their irons, understood what launch angle, ball speed, and spin rate. So for the first time in their lives, an average golfer could walk into a store and get on a launch monitor and find out, oh my gosh, I can hit my 6-iron the farthest or my 5-iron the farthest, not this 3 and the 4. And that, that really started the joke is, what do we have our 3-iron for to punch out from under trees? Because people finally realized, wow, this isn't a good golf club for me. But they bought a hybrid to replace it. It brought distance, brought trajectory back in their game.
So, Michael, I guess all the technology and the things and advancements in the game, whether it's with the equipment or the golf ball, with respect to what's legal on tour, how much better can equipment get with respect to distance before we start getting outside of what I thought was supposed to be legal for distance, MOI, and that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, so that's a big question, obviously, because there's the only real distance rule from equipment standpoint is on the golf ball. There's a limit of the ball speed can go. There's a limit of the distance it can go. From a driver perspective, there's limits on the face flex, the amount of the face can flex, which is called CT or characteristic time is how it's measured, and then MOI. So you get all that together, and that's what happens. I think when the USGA launched their new distance initiative today, looking for public comment and feedback and even independent studies, which I think is wonderful. Hopefully they keep that openness and transparency through this process. But when you look at the distance, it's guys like Tony Finau and Bubba Watson and Gary Woodland. These are big human beings, who are 6'3", 6'4". They're using drivers that are in excess of 45 inches. They can get the weight down where they want it, and they get on the launch monitor, and it can perfectly match their driver to their golf ball. So, when you're talking about distance and legality, just when you think, I checked a day or two ago, I believe there's over 50 players right now on the PGA Tour averaging over 300 yards of drive. Now, interestingly, there's a bunch of data out, including from the USGA, that says the average golfer I think it was 209. So there's this massive disparity of 100 yards from the average golfer to even the 50th guy on the PGA Tour. So when we talk about distance being an issue, even for good amateurs, I don't think that's true. I think it's an issue for the very elitist players at the top of their game. How to rule that? There's lots of things to do. Is it a ball roll back? Do the club heads need to be smaller, which is something that no one's talking about. If you make the club head smaller, take the MOI down, and balls would inherently curve more, would that, slow down the kind of bomb and gouge type swing? So there's a lot of ways to get there. Obviously, I have no idea what the USGA's plans are. But I think it's interesting to think about what it is and talk about things besides let's slow the golf ball down. So what we don't want to do, I love golf. I love going out and play with friends and on weekends and weeknights with guys who are, plumbers and architects and lawyers, and none of them complain about the golf ball going too far.
So, Michael, where do we go from here? What do you think is the next big innovation or the next big thing with respect to golf equipment?
Well, I think we're starting to see it now is again, you can look at a company like Callaway, look at a company like PXG, where they are taking the price reins off. And, there's been many prototypes over my 19 years where we went, boy, this is really cool. We just can't sell it. There's no one on earth who will buy it. That's gone now. So I think you're going to start to see things that are more multi-material, where you're mixing 3, 4, maybe even 5 materials to truly maximize every gram that you can put into a head. Whether it's spinning the face down and putting some sort of structure behind it, whether it's putting, a rubber-based or a polymer-based material that you can really mold with tungsten and other heavy weights to increase MOI and put the weight exactly where you want it. You can really fine-tune spin. So I think that's the next step, is being able to fit and fit like we do now, but because of the higher price, be able to modify CGs even more. Obviously, TaylorMade's done a wonderful job with their adjustable weights, and Callaway and several other companies, and some of the products I did as well. But with the added cost, you can do some things to even fine-tune it more, make it more personal. And I think that fitting game, which the tour players already get and consumers have gotten a taste of, can really step up. The consumers are going to have to be willing to pay for that. And again, it's certainly shown a segment of the golf population has. But with everything, there's going to be people who can't afford that. And I just hope that, they still love the game and get out and play, even though there might be that little bit of separation from equipment as that trend continues.
So we're looking at $1,000 drivers potentially?
Well, yeah, unquestionably, yes. I mean, there's been $1,000 drivers in Japan for some time. Now, you can argue whether or not the reason those were $1,000 was due to performance or due to, things like paint and having gold trim and those types of things. But with the ability to do different things and add different materials and different manufacturing processes, I think we're going to start seeing more $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 drivers. And then it's really going to get important to fit, because for some players that driver will be better. But there's always going to be a group of players where it's not. And I think that's where golfers are going to need to go, okay, I'm now hitting my driver 232. I go get fit. This driver's 252. That 20 yards is worth $1,000. Boy, if it's 235, that 3 yards probably isn't worth $1,000. So golfers, because of the knowledge they have, the ability to go online and find numerous sites that test drivers, they should have a pretty good idea of what they're looking for going in. Can hit 2 or 3 of them on a launch monitor with a qualified professional, hopefully a PGA professional, and then truly know, is this better for me? Is this worth the expenditure? And if it is, by all means, enjoy this great game, play better, hit it farther. That's why we go out. That's why so many of us are passionate about this game, is because we want to be our best.
Michael, before we let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing, and whether it's online or over social media?
Yeah, by all means. Twitter is my favorite. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I certainly check those and post, but Twitter is my favorite. I love that vehicle. So it's at the Golf Man, the letter V, the word golf, and the letter man. And the word man. I'm on there frequently. I do all that I can to answer every question. So if anybody's got one, by all means, fire away. I'm happy to make that public. I'd love to share my knowledge with other people who are passionate about this great game, golf. But I'm also willing to talk some baseball and cars too. But golf's number one.
There you go. Michael, you're fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. Always great having you here. Hope you'll come back and do it again much sooner next time, because I always learn something when you join me.
Chris, I appreciate it, Bob. Great to talk to you. And, let me know. I'm always going to come talk with great people.
Thank you, Michael. Take care. All the best to you and your family, my friend.
Good night, Michael.
Thanks. Yep, bye-bye.
And it's Michael Vrska, and it's at @VGolfMan on Twitter. And Bob, when you look at a guy who's been around the industry 19 years, he has certainly seen, right, the growth of the golf industry, and from small head drivers, right, back when they were still wood, to what we've got now. It's amazing the transformation the golf equipment and the golf balls have gone through, and Michael's been a part of it at every level.
And you could tell he's a Purdue grad, Chris, an amazingly intelligent guy who's got to stay on top of all this technology on a daily basis. So it's a pleasure to speak with him.